Hey guys, my name is Mitsumio, and today I wanted to ask the question to Ubisoft, why haven't you buffed Tachanka yet? Now, I fully understand that you've been focusing on other things. When you have a character that is underpowered, really it only affects that operator. If you have someone that is overpowered, it of course affects everyone that's playing the game. This is why you needed to make changes to Lion, Ella, Blackbeard, like I fully understand that. At the same time though, you really have to ask the question, when are you gonna make any improvements? I think the last time he saw an upgrade was all the way back at the end of year 1 or at the start of year 2. I think the lore behind him getting a shield on his turret, because if you guys don't remember, he didn't have that shield at the beginning of Rainbow Six Siege. It was given to him by Mira. That was kind of the backstory behind it. I think if memory serves, that was literally the last time he saw any improvements. And so I don't know about you guys, but I feel like this is getting a bit ridiculous. Even if you stated that you want to overhaul Tachanka, even if that's gonna take a while, you could have taken some steps along the way over these last 2 years to try to put him on par with all of the other operators. One easy solution, one thing that you guys have been really fond of so far, is giving him an ACOG. So far, it seems like Ubisoft is happy with removing this attachment from operators to reduce their power and effectiveness. Well, why not give him access to one to try to improve his viability? I believe he is one of the only, if not the only, 3 armored operator on defense, except for Clash. It wouldn't make sense on her. He is the only one that can't use an ACOG, and I really feel like this would go a long way. It, of course, fits the mechanical design that you guys have been going for on defense. Only 3 armored operators would have access to that, so he fits that category, that criterion. Why not go down that path? Now, I realize you might be a bit reluctant because if you do have plans later on overhauling him, if they give him an ACOG and then they take it away after they go with that update, like I guess I can see where that's coming from, but you could go in another direction to try to make him more viable. One way that you could go about this is to give him access to 2 turrets. Tachanka's biggest weakness right now is obviously as soon as he gets spotted by the offensive team, he is put at a severe disadvantage. Ubisoft has even admitted that requiring an operator to stand still or be, stationary just doesn't work in this game. You need to have that maneuverability so that you can switch positions and not be that vulnerable. And so by having 2 different turrets, this would open up a lot more options. He could have a forward position so that he could try to slow down the progress of the offensive team. As soon as he gets spotted in that position, he can fall back to his second one so that hopefully the next time they round the corner, they don't realize that he's there and he can take advantage of that and take them out. That doesn't mean that he's necessarily mobile while he's in his turret, but that does give him a bit more options and at least a little bit more ability than he has right now. Another way that they could try to improve him is to make it so that his shield has 3 different breaking points. I'm sure you guys have experienced this all the time. When you're on offense, you see a Tachanka's turret, you'll notice that the shield is kind of sticking out from the side. Tachanka can't actually see you, you can't see him, but because it is extended, you take a couple of shots at the shield, it breaks, you round the corner while he's still in his turret, he can't move obviously, and then you get a free easy takedown. If you made it so that the actual shield had 3 different breaking points, 1 in the middle and then 2 on the side, even if they shot that left hand or right hand side shield portion, it would break, but then as long as he's facing you, he would still have that small little window in front to protect his face. And so that would give him hopefully at least a little bit more protection in those kind of situations. He would of course be still really vulnerable, like it wouldn't be a massive improvement, but it would be a small buff to make him at least a little bit better. You could also make it so that his turret is a lot more accurate. I don't know why it has to have that spread so that your actual shots kind of don't go exactly where you want them to, but that's been a mechanic since the very beginning. You could also make it so that he has access to a higher optic on his gadget. Now, I realize that wouldn't really kind of fit with the lore of his character because he's meant to be a collector of these artifacts, these old weapons, but he could still slap something on there to try to make it better at long range. That would also be a really nice improvement. Now, one counter argument to all of these suggestions, because I realize they're not perfect, is that Ubisoft might be trying to avoid Tachanka from becoming someone that just is really good at spawn peeking. If you're able to put 2 turrets around the map, for example, in 2 different locations, and then just peek out from, of course, those obvious spawn locations, if he then has a turret that's even more accurate, or it has a better shield in front of it, that could be very difficult for the offensive team to deal with and could be quite frustrating. That said, though, I still don't feel like that's much of an excuse for not even attempting to try to make any buffs or improvements to this operator. Even if you gave him access to an ACOG, I don't think that all of a sudden he would become a top choice because, of course, everyone's going to gravitate on over to Rook, Doc, Maestro, and Echo. They're way better at what they do. They have gadgets that actually benefit the defensive team way more significantly than having a stationary turret, but at least it would give him a bit more options and try to improve his overall performance. One of the issues for leaving characters like this at such a poor state is that while yes, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't impact the overall match, it does remove the amount of variety that we have at our disposal. Ubisoft has indicated that eventually they want to get to 100 operators. That's kind of their goal, what they want for Rainbow Six Siege. But if only 50 of them, for example, are actually competitive, then you really don't have 100 operators. You only really technically have 50 because all the rest don't see any play whatsoever. And while I'm not trying to say that that's anywhere where we are right now in this game, I think Ubisoft in general has done a really good job at making almost every single one of these characters fun and have a place in this game right now. But that really just isn't the case for Tachanka. And so if you are going to be making this rework, and I hope that you are, I'm really crossing my fingers that eventually that is going to be soon, because I do want to have more of that variety. I would love to see him in a more competitive sense, and I just cannot wait for that to happen. Now, that isn't the only operator that I wanted to talk about in today's video, because Castle is someone who also hasn't seen really any improvements whatsoever, and according to those graphs that Ubisoft likes to supply us every single season, he hasn't been doing well for a very long time now. Not only is his pick rate awful, no one wants to play as him, but his win rate is also all the way down there with Tachanka. Now, there are a few reasons for why these stats might be so low that we can already explain. He's a very situational operator because he's only useful on some objectives and not all of them. That would contribute to his low pick rates, but also he may only be played on objectives that already are at a defensive disadvantage. People are playing him to maybe give defense a little bit of an edge, but it isn't enough to kind of put things into their favor, and so that would contribute to his low win rate. He's only played on objectives that have a low win rate to begin with, and so that might be the reason for these stats being at where they are. With that being said, though, you probably know where I'm going with this. I would love to see some improvements to him. One idea that I think is fantastic is to give him a canister-like system, such as Mira, where you place his gadget above a doorway or a window. There is a canister on the actual door frame above it, and then if you want to lower his castle barricade whenever you want, you just take out said canister. This would open up so many more possibilities. One weakness of him right now, especially when you're playing with a bunch of randoms, is that you put up his gadget, and then when a roamer wants to get back onto said objective, they have to either tear it down or open it up with an impact nade. That, of course, is not optimal. But if you have the roamer do his job, slow down the offensive team, either take someone out or just slow them down in general, he can then make his way back to the objective, shoot the canister, and then it will roll down, protecting him from that flank. This would also open up other possibilities if you were playing with a Maestro, for example. Imagine in the setup phase, a Maestro puts his evil eye in the corner of a room in the vicinity of one of these castle barricades, and then at the start of a match, a Blitz rushes the objective. Blitz charges on in, the Maestro then uses his gadget to break the canister, the wall or the door falls down, and now that Blitz has nowhere to fall back to. His teammates are literally separated from him. That will then hopefully give you and your team the amount of time to take out that very aggressive player. Like, that could be a really interesting tactic. Like, the amount of ways that you would be able to use this would be a lot more than the current system that we have right now. They could also just simply make it so that his gadget is a lot more durable. Make it so that Fuse isn't a direct counter. I've never understood this. Why is Fuse able to just puncture right through with his gadget? It basically just gives him a free setup when he's trying to actually fuse use the objective. There's a lot of ways that they could just simply make it more hardy. They could even extend it down so that drones can't pass on by, so that he's also a pseudo blocker of information. That could be another way to try to make some improvements. All in all, though, if you can't tell, I would really like to see these two operators get some loving in the very near future. Like I said, when you have characters like this that are so insignificant or so specialized in what they do, it really diminishes the amount of variety that we have, and I do think that is something that Ubisoft should eventually address. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about these suggestions. Do you like the recommendations that I made? Do you think that Ubisoft should go another way with their buffs? Do you think that they're fine as they are and don't need any improvements? Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. But yeah, guys, until next time, have a good one and take it easy.